Hey you, it's another beautiful day. Let's watch some stuff.
Aleister Crowley, a very famous occultist who practiced ritual magic, he conducted a ritual that's called the Amalantrah working, and he made contact with an alien named Lamb. This alien entity that he drew out was the first gray alien that was ever depicted. This magic ritual, it goes all the way back to the Book of Enoch. There were these fallen angels, they called the Watchers, and the Watchers came and they taught man how to use magic, and these entities taught them the Enochian language. Crowley said, okay, well, let's talk to these entities using that Enochian language. And he did that many times. For decades and decades, the government had this internal Pentagon group that said, hey, all this alien activity could be demonic in some way. Pump the brakes on trying to summon these things because there could be some unintended consequences.
So we touched on Aleister Crowley just a little bit, and I mentioned how much he had piqued my interest. And I was just going to pull a few clips, but user CE9JJ9NH3S said an episode on Aleister Crowley would be awesome, so that's what we're doing. Today is a full episode on Aleister Crowley. These are in no particular order, so I didn't sequence them at all. And I haven't watched them all the way through, so it's going to be kind of a surprise as to what we're getting. It's like a grab bag. It's going to be exciting. All right, so about this video. So Lamb is the entity that was conjured through this Amalandra working, and people thought that he was conjuring demons. And other people thought, oh my goodness, this is an alien. But actually, no, people didn't think it was an alien yet because that wasn't even a thing then, was it? Huh, that's interesting. Hey, thanks for stopping by. If there's a topic you'd like me to cover, please let me know down in the description below and I'll do my best to get it in an upcoming video. If you're having a good time, please hit that like button and consider subscribing, and then come back tomorrow because I'm making a new video every day.
A lot of people state that Aleister Crowley was summoning demons. He was into metaphysics and a student of the dark arts. He was very interested in the supernatural, and he also is a founder of his own religion. He would teach that everyone have free will, but love is the law. Now, Aleister Crowley was born to a wealthy family, and his father would pass away and leave him a lot of cash. Aleister Crowley would then take this trip to Cairo, Egypt, and this is the location where Aleister Crowley summoned the spirit Aiwass. He would meditate, astral project, and talk to this spirit. Now, this spirit gave him all type of secrets of the earth, and the spirit also gave him the book of the law. And if you guys get this book, it sounds like poetry. It sounds like a love story. It's no evil within it. People like to scare you away from true knowledge, and I'm going to show you why. The name Aiwass would also be translated over into Horus, the sun god. This was the ancient Christ that Aleister Crowley was talking to. And the god Horus told Aleister Crowley that he will return, and he will come back to sit on the throne. I hope y'all like the lecture. Part 2 coming soon. Peace, family.
All right, a little controversy, and that's okay because we're looking at this from all angles, right? Okay, some of you know that I don't practice any particular religion. So I don't tout any religion or lack thereof, and I certainly do not shun any religion or lack thereof. Everybody has their own beliefs and they're all beautiful. Now, this particular video, this fella is saying that Aleister Crowley's religion wasn't evil. It was about love and purity, and some people are like, oh my God, no, and that's okay. That's okay. And some people are like, oh yes, I totally understand. And that's okay as well. Because everybody has their own perspective and what is right based on how it makes them feel and what they believe to be true. So, carrying on.
There was an event that took place back in the late 40s known as the Babylon working ritual. Now, this was a ritual that was carried out by Jack Parsons, JPL. Jack Parsons was not professionally trained, yet he was tapping into high technology and building rockets. How do you do that without any type of formal training? There were no rocket programs in America before Jack Parsons. This guy was tapping into Theosophy, Thelema, the religion of Aleister Crowley. He was a disciple of Aleister Crowley, and he was working with L. Ron Hubbard, who was the founder of Scientology. Babylon working was successful, according to Jack Parsons. Matter of fact, Parsons said in his Antichrist Manifesto that they were successful and that a child was conceived in that act.
After that, you had the Roswell incident. You had the Kenneth Arnold sightings. You had in '53 there was the swarm of UFOs that flew over the White House. And so there's this unleashing of supernatural activity that took place after that ritual was performed.
Aleister Crowley, the foundational figure of Thelema and a significant influence on Parsons, once sketched a being he contacted during an earlier ritual named Lamb. The visage of Lamb bears an uncanny resemblance to modern depictions of grey aliens, with its oversized cranium and piercing almond-shaped eyes. Could magical rituals, like those of Crowley and later Parsons, serve as a bridge between dimensions or realities, possibly connecting to extraterrestrial realms?
One of the bombshells that we dropped was that there's a declassified federal document. Anyone watching this interview can go find this document. It's on the FBI vault. Document 6751, it's a document from the 40s. It was written by a prominent member of academia, and it was submitted to the FBI. In this document, they make a case that entities are not space aliens, but that they're interdimensional or extra-dimensional entities that are crossing over from a plane known as the ethereal plane. Now, we know, as researchers of the New Age movement, we know that that is where the ascended masters are supposedly said to be on a high level. This ethereal plane is very popular. When you talk to people who astral project, people who channel, people who remote view, people who want to tap in or go on a trip, an ayahuasca trip, a DMT trip.
I apologize for any redundancies. There are some sticking points that may be repeated here and there, but like I said, I didn't watch any of these all the way through, so let's get through them. This one in particular, oh my goodness, that's fantastic. So this Jack Parsons guy didn't even have any kind of like formal rockets training, none whatsoever. There was no rocket, nothing, right? Until he does this freaking ritual with these guys, right? With L. Ron Hubbard and Aleister Crowley. They go out into wherever they go and then they do these rituals and suddenly he's got all of this information on rockets, right? So like they opened a portal to aliens, alien technology. Some people think it's demons. I know, I get you, I got you. But for this sake, let's say it's aliens, right? So they're opening a portal and suddenly getting all of this incredible information and technology, and boom, we have a jet propulsion laboratory. That's crazy, right?
Jack Parsons, the father of modern rocketry, but also the leader of a black magic cult. If you haven't seen part 1, go watch it real quick because you might not understand what's going on. Founder of Scientology, Ron Hubbard now joins the cult ran by Aleister Crowley and Jack Parsons. Hubbard had extraordinary charisma, wit, and had endless tales to tell. Parsons ends up becoming very good friends with Hubbard and speaks very highly of him. That all changed when Hubbard seduced his girlfriend Betty and Hubbard ran away. Parsons became infuriated, not only because he stole his girl, but because he showed Hubbard how to climb up the mystical ladder of Crowley's secret society, which many believe he got the principles of Scientology from. Parsons then started to focus on outer forms of magic, blending voodoo and witchcraft together. Members from the cult believed he was trying to use spells to summon a demon to kill Hubbard, but in reality he was trying to summon Babylon, the Thelemic goddess of female sexuality. Rituals often involved pentagrams, obscure scripture, and other things I can't say. His future wife Marjorie Cameron arrives at the cult in 1946, meets Parsons. They later then were enclosed in rooms performing magic rituals for hours and became married in less than a year. The FBI started taking notes of these practices. He was investigated. He was not found guilty, but his science career was over. In 1952, there was a massive explosion at his house that took his life. People call it an accident, a suicide, an assassination, or a conjuring ritual.
Okay, so we went off on a little bit of a tangent there talking about Jack Parsons, but I think it's really cool how we learn how these three fellows are interwoven. It starts with Aleister Crowley creating this Thelemic religion, okay? And Jack Parsons is part of it, and that's where he gets his JPL knowledge, right? His rocket training, I'm assuming. And then enter L. Ron Hubbard, who's a science fiction novelist, by the way, and he's got all kinds of stories to tell, like he said. So Jack Parsons helped L. Ron Hubbard move up the ranks in this Thelemic religion, okay? And then L. Ron Hubbard branches off and creates Scientology. I wonder how much of this Thelemic religion is actually in the Scientology religion. If there's like a lot of stuff that he took from it, or if he just, learned from it and evolved into his own thing. I think it's super interesting. I think it's also super interesting that this Thelemic religion was very sexual based. I know a lot of cults are pretty much free sex based as well.
This is 100% true, and it's terrifying. This is Boleskine House. It overlooks Loch Ness in the north of Scotland. The house was built on the site of a 10th century church. One day, the church caught on fire during service. It trapped and killed everyone inside. The house that they built on the site was purchased in 1899 by this man, Aleister Crowley, the most prominent occultist of all time. So Crowley would use the house to practice black magic and to supposedly open a portal to the underworld. Then Crowley admits that his experiments are getting out of control, especially when his housekeeper suffers the sudden death of all of his children. So Crowley up and leaves. And then Led Zeppelin guitarist Jimmy Page buys the house. He leaves it in the care of his friend Malcolm Dent. You can read about his experiences, but basically he just lives in constant terror. For that, the house is sold twice. Both times the owners died mysteriously. And then, in 2015, the house spontaneously bursts into flames while no one is there.
Because that's where he was opening portals to things he wasn't supposed to be opening portals to. So was it aliens or was it demons? Was it extraterrestrials, trans-dimensional beings? He was just conjuring something. He was creating some kind of link in between that house and things that should not be there.
The concept of extraterrestrials, or aliens, and the history of the occult go hand in hand. These entities are nothing more than the manifestation of demonic beings brought upon by a satanic ritual performed in 1946 called the Babylon Working. Before any mainstream depiction of the archetype of the gray aliens with elongated skulls and buggy eyes, British occultist Aleister Crowley had his depiction of his so-called guardian angel named Lamb, who he later admitted was Lucifer. The depiction of Aleister Crowley's guardian angel reflects perfectly that of the gray aliens depicted in many Hollywood shows and movies. In the early 1900s, Jack Parsons, one of the founders of Jet Propulsion's laboratory, a precursor to NASA, became a follower of Aleister Crowley's religion and in many ways was being groomed by Crowley himself to become his successor. Parsons was even the lodge master of the Agape Lodge of the Ordo Templi Orientis, or the Order of the Temple of the East, which he ran out of his Pasadena mansion.
All right, so I get the Amalandra working and the Babylon working rituals a little confused. To the best of my recollection, the Amalandra working is where Aleister Crowley came in contact with Lamb, and that's how he got all of this information, and that's where also this Jack Parsons got all of the JPL information, or the Jet Propulsion information, right? Okay, and then the Babylon working was a ritual to bring forth Babylon. I believe that was a sexual ritual where Aleister Crowley, Jack Parsons, and or L. Ron Hubbard impregnated a woman to bring forth the Whore of Babylon. I'm not 100% certain on that one, but that's what I recall from a previous video that we had done before. Now, I think this guy got them a little mixed up as well because he said it was the Babylon that brought forth Lamb. But either way, I think it's fantastic that he said that, oh yeah, Lamb is Satan. He's the devil. Now, not too long ago, we talked about how Christians believe that aliens are demons. A lot of Christians believe that aliens are demons. And it's because Aleister Crowley drew this picture, right? And then he later revealed that was Satan. So that makes a lot of sense why a lot of Christians believe that aliens are demons. So that puts a whole lot of stuff into perspective now.
Thelema is founded by the famous occultist Aleister Crowley in the early 1900s, but its central text was the Book of the Law, written by Aleister Crowley himself. Two of the central concepts are, quote, do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law, and, quote, love is the law, love under will. So essentially they believed in sex magic, which is the power of sex and orgasms, the act itself, and what comes of it. And they believed that while performing these sexual acts, you're performing these rituals, spells, people are scrying. They thought that this was the way to access the other side, something spiritual.
When you experience that, there's that small window, right? So in that window of time, however long the orgasm lasts, they believe
7 minutes from you.
That's impressive. But in my short window of time, it opens that window to, they believe you're able to connect with the universe or whatever the universal power is or love. And it's kind of this connection with the divine. That's why they would do this magic to invoke those ectoplasms in which they would then do spells and whatnot to make things happen or will things into existence.
So I did say earlier that I thought that this was a sexually based cult, and this pretty much says, yeah, that's what they did. It was all about, sex. That's pretty much it. That's interesting. I understand why a lot of cultists will use free sex as like a thing, because it draws a lot of people in, and then once you have them, relaxed and comfortable and believing that this is what we're gonna do, it's easy to alter them in any other way. So that's pretty interesting. It's also brilliant. But these workings, so they were all basically just probably like huge group sex acts, which explains why the Babylon working was the three of them impregnating a woman. Huh. All right, well, I'm calling it for today. Thank you so much for sharing your time with me. Come on back tomorrow. We'll watch new stuff. I'll say different things, and it's going to be fantastic. Until then, have a wonderful day.